Hello and welcome to Financial Technology Frontiers Live. We are here for one more very interesting conversation and with another global luminary in the world of fintech and financial technologies. Please join me in welcoming Nicola Anderson, who is the CEO of the Scotland Fintech and who has been in midst of a lot of happening things in the Scottish market when it comes to fintech. She has been a regulator herself. She has worked with the regulators before, and today she is there providing some wonderful support to the fintechs to scale to the level next in the Scottish fintech market. Nicola, welcome to Banking Frontiers Live.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very nice to be here.
Thank you, Nicola. So, Nicola, let us know a little bit about the ecosystem that you have in Scotland FinTech and what kind of companies are a composition, especially in this FinTech. What kind of things have you been doing with the FinTech to promote the FinTech companies in Scotland?
Thank you. That's a great broad question to start with. So Fintech Scotland is a collaborative cluster, is the first thing I would say. And we work across industry, public sector, government, and the third sector, as well as our fintech SMEs and academia, to really progress that opportunity that fintech presents for economy and for society as a whole. So that breadth of cluster presents a really fantastic opportunity for impactful collaboration, which is one of our key objectives within the Fintech Scotland cluster, as well as that opportunity to support an innovative community of fintech SMEs. And we have real breadth there in that, and I'll talk about that in a second. And our third pillar, our third objective within our cluster, is very much to build an inclusive cluster, because we see fintech as that really broad opportunity and positive opportunity to drive change in financial services. And we want to see as many people involved in that conversation as possible. So our inclusive cluster approach enables us to do that. So we work across those three pillars, and our innovative community of 154 fintech SMEs today has grown significantly over the last 3 years. And we have real depth in that community in subjects like payments, in subjects like data analytics and connected to the changes in open banking, as an example, as well as fintech for good and fintech with purpose, really thinking about financial inclusion. And we're now seeing more developments in topics like reg tech, as well as digital currencies. So there's real breadth within that community, and that offers those participants and those members to really think about how they can share lessons and how they can support each other as they develop, because we also have scaling businesses there, as well as startups, new entrants, etc. So we've got a really vibrant scene in Scotland.
Fantastic. And Nicola, when you talk about fintech, when you talk about the world of finance, the biggest thing is this is a very tightly regulated industry. And one of the most strongest things to do for growth of all this sector is basically to have a wonderful regulatory environment created for the growth of this fintech, for which industry leaders like you probably go in the forefront and try to bridge that gap of regulatory information. What kind of regulatory scenario exists there for fintechs in Scotland, and how are you working towards it?
So I think we're very lucky with the regulatory environment within the UK, particularly from an innovation perspective. The Financial Conduct Authority has been world leading in some of its advances to really help and encourage innovation in the financial services sector. It established the Innovation Sandbox, and is currently in cohort 7 of that sandbox iteration. And that really has created an environment where the regulator can learn about the changes that fintech and innovation is bringing to financial services. So they can think about any policy developments or things that they might want to take on board. as well as helping those new entrants consider the requirements and responsibility that comes with entering into a business into a regulatory field such as financial services that has that broader impact. So the FCA has been at the forefront of driving quite a bit of regulatory change, for sure, and innovation, particularly within the financial services sector here in the UK. And we're now starting to see it further develop its activity in this space as it learns from the sandbox, progresses the assets and services that it can offer to really help that progress even further, as well as now call out some specific themes where it thinks there would be more opportunity for innovation to progress issues. So being having that kind of opportunity with the regulator at the forefront really presents us with continues to present us with that vibrancy here in the UK, of which Scotland, of course, helps, is firmly part of.
Fantastic. So already you have a vibrant regulator, you have a lot of market influencers like you. So there is definitely going to be a great ecosystem there for the fintechs to thrive and prosper. Let's go to the most important pillar of fintech then, coming to the investment piece of it. How is the investment scenario there right now? And what kind of changes have taken place in the investment scenario, changes especially in the trends when it comes to pre-COVID, current situation, and what is likely to change in the post-COVID scenario? Any interesting insights that you can share on this?
So we even in COVID, actually, we saw investment levels in 2020 on a par with those in 2019. So we're still seeing active investment in the fintech landscape and the fintech businesses here in the UK and in Scotland. And we're seeing investors really thoughtful about opportunities, particularly with those businesses that have considered regulation and have considered the responsibilities for which they are about to embark, as well as others in that payments sector. We're seeing active consideration in the digital currency sector. So it's really continues to be quite broad. But what's encouraging and what's promising is that the investment opportunity remains robust here in Scotland and in the UK, with investment levels last year of around 4.1 billion US dollars. So we're still seeing quite significant numbers.
Interesting. So you mean to say that the investors have not bowed down to the pandemic? They have, in fact, probably risen to invest more.
Well, I think it's accelerated. We talk about that COVID time machine, and it's just accelerated the opportunity for and the need for digital services and digital services in the financial services arena. So yeah, we're continuing to be encouraged by the prospects and the opportunities for fintech.
Interesting. Interesting. So, moving forward, especially when it comes to market access and opportunities for the fintechs, how are you working with the entire European ecosystem and the market there in the UK and helping these fintechs to get more and more market share and acceptability in those markets, especially those guys from the UK? And what are you also trying to do for guys from other markets who are planning to set up into UK or in Scotland? How are you empowering them with a great ecosystem there and the market access?
That's a great question. So we work very closely with Scottish Development International, as well as the Department for International Trade here in the Fintech Scotland ecosystem. As I talked about that broad collaboration that we have here across our cluster, SDI, Scottish Development International, and Scottish Enterprise are firmly part of that cluster. So going back to the question around what we're doing, working with to welcome international businesses into Scotland and to also support our fintech SMEs as they consider international opportunities more broadly, we're working very closely with Scottish Development International and the Department for Trade, International Trade, in that regard. And we are absolutely seeing fintechs here in Scotland consider those markets more broadly, particularly those that have been working in open banking and progressing into open finance as they consider how they can think about that opportunity more globally. And active markets are across Europe, are across Asia, and across America in particular. And we have really benefited from seeing some fantastic businesses internationally come and settle in Scotland. Most recent, we've had one recently join us here in January, a Singapore business who's come and set up another location here in Scotland. So we're actively open and really encouraging that. It helps our ecosystem and it helps our fintech SMEs learn and develop and strengthens that community.
Fantastic. So, any interesting incentives for setting up fintechs in Scotland, or any special support is provided to the fintechs who set up in that market?
Yeah, so Scottish Development International will work hard to support those businesses that are actively thinking about Scotland as an opportunity and have a variety of incentives, as well as we're giving some thought at the moment to that talent landscape and the skills landscape. We think about those tech visas that are that we're actively thinking about at the moment. So there's a host there. More detail could be gathered through Scottish Development International.
Fantastic. That's really nice, Nicola. That should definitely attract more and more investors, especially from the fintech space, to get into Scotland and probably try to make that as a hub to target the European market. Great. Moving further, how is the scenario when it comes to talent in Scotland? How the fintechs can find the right kind of talent? Is there anything interesting among the talent there?
So we have a really nice heritage here in Scotland of, of a mixture of financial services industry, of technology industry, as well as capabilities for innovation. And that heritage, coupled with the university focus on fintech here, is really helping us create that environment for talent. Um, so that we're very active in that market at the moment and in that space at the moment, as we develop more fintech programs, fintech graduate and degree programs, as well as other skills focused programs.
So, from among the technologies that you have been working with, what are you very what is the kind of technology that impresses you the more, or what are that technologies that you are gung ho about, and you would like to see them prosper more, or something that you are expecting those technologies to come in?
So it's certainly hard to pick. That's a very difficult question. It's hard to pick. There are a number of themes that I would call out that I think we will see more innovation and more opportunity against. But what's really substantial, I think, is that we see these innovators and entrepreneurs come with a problem-solving mindset to address issues that will deliver real solutions for people and to advance financial inclusion generally. So that purpose behind the business is vital. And we're seeing so much of that in our fintech community here in Scotland. So fintech that advances financial inclusion, I think, is vital, whether that's at personal level or whether that's at business level, for individuals and for SMEs. I think we'll see more and more of that. And we'll also see more innovations in the payments sector, fintechs that really start to help us advance the payments industry. as well as it's going to be interesting to see what happens around digital currencies and pay and fintech innovation in that space. So it's very difficult to pick one specific.
Every area is equally lucrative, according to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Thanks a lot, Nicola, for a wonderful conversation. And we look forward to more and more such interesting, insightful conversations with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.